Hi everyone, today we are going to introduce two classroom practices for improving students' engagement. This is Qi and they are Chang and Zhuoying. The two practices are called inquiry-based learning and technology teaching. We will start from these four aspects, which are detailed and comprehensive description, implication of practice, evaluations, and reflection on future teaching. And finally, we are going to talk about any connections between these two practices. First of all, let us talk about inquiry-based learning. Generally, this practice aims to increase students' opportunities for letting them involve in the inquiry-based learning. And next, we are going to talk about the definition of the inquiry-based learning. Based on the research, inquiry-based learning is a pedagogical approach that engages learners actively in a knowledge-building process through the generation of answerable questions. And also, each letter in the inquiry has different meanings. I represent investigate your surroundings. N means narrow your focus. Q stands for ask cooperative questions. U means uncover your prediction. I represent initiate an action plan. R stands for research and data collection. And the last letter E represent examine results and communicate findings. And what's more, inquiry has been described as a combination of student-centered, hands-on activities with discovery. The key word here is student-centered. So what is a student-centered classroom? There are two basic forms of classrooms, which are teacher-directed classroom and learners-directed classroom. So they are both approach to give students instructions. The first one, teacher-directed classroom, is like the teacher is largely control of the content and course of the lesson. The common example could be the traditional classroom. It's like teacher determines what the student is going to learn, the content, and the assessment they are going to use. And on the other side, learner-directed classroom is like students have considerable control regarding the issues they address and the ways they address them. So students have the power to decide what they are going to learn, the content they are going to learn, and the strategies they are going to use to learn this knowledge. And compared to the traditional didactic teaching, student-centered classroom is more effective in promoting students' ability to apply knowledge, deep thinking, and reasoning skills. This image demonstrates the process of inquiry-based learning. So the first step is to ask. I ask questions I notice. Confusion is always a good thing, and students' learning comes from asking questions. And the next step is to investigate. I investigate, plan, read, and research on the internet. During this step, students start to explore evidences to support their thinkings and findings. And the next step is to create. I create, try, experiment, draw, and explain. And students are going to use the evidence they find to prove their thought. The next one is discuss. I discuss, share, report, and thinking. Collaborative learning is involved in this process, and lots of learning happens in the peer communication. And finally comes to the reflection. I reflected, revise, rethink, and evaluate. Now I'm going to talk about the features of inquiry-based learning. Inquiry-based learning incorporates real-world situations that build on previous learning, and it is student-directed and function using group and discussion. This opens up opportunities for students to engage in thought-provoking and realistic learning process. It has been shown that students are more likely to adopt durable and effective learning strategies when they engage in tasks that are true to life, using available skills and instruments. So it's inquiry-based learning transfer theories to practices. And the focus for the inquiry-based learning is to foster the development of independent learners by encouraging students to take responsibility for their own learning, like questioning, critical thinking, and problem solving. And like in the area of science education, students can use the recent news to expand their learning. And also, inquiry-based learning has been shown to support students' cognitive abilities like critical thinking and reasoning, and the acquisitions scientific knowledge. And this learning is dominantly directed by students, and teachers is like a supportive role. Now let's discuss some students' role in the inquiry-based learning in some details. And there are 4 basic roles. The first one is to observe a phenomena, and the second one is to synthesize research questions, and the third one is to test these questions in a repeatable manner, and finally comes to analyze and communicate their findings with peers. There are also 2 types of inquiry level. The first one is open inquiry learning, which means students independently formulate questions to research. And the second one is guided inquiry learning, which means the educator provides guidance with the construction of a question. For example, during my placement, I observed there is an activity called reading groups, and teachers offered several options for students to do this activity, like they can do exposition writing or handwriting or reading books or dictionary work, and students can choose these activities based on their interests. And these actually promote students' engagement, and I saw lots of students feel very comfortable to learn in this process.
Inquiry-based learning is a remarkable method that can engage both students and teachers to build their critical thinking and reasoning skills. Inquiry-based learning provides opportunity for students to engage with a range of different learning experiences and styles. Now we are going to talk about by using inquiry-based learning, it can help engage students in aspects of cognitive, behavioral, and emotional ways. Under cognitive engagement, inquiry-based learning approaches require students to invest considerable mental effort and to persist in the search of solutions to problems. They need to focus on their own questions and think of their own solutions, so it can engage students who employ the deeper level and self-regulated learning strategies that can help them lead to higher achievement. In inquiry-based learning, students may use their learning strategies such as planning, evaluating work, and so on to learn the new knowledge, which cognitively engage students to draw connection between the new knowledge they learn and their prior knowledge, and encourage students to face challenges. Compared to the students in traditional classrooms, the students who are in an inquiry-based classroom have higher interest, efficacy, and strategy use. They would more focus on the content they learn and know which kind of strategies work efficiently. Under behavioral engagement, inquiry-based learning develops students' curiosity. It gives freedom to explore and investigate, and also offer active environment. Students share their inquiries with teachers and peers. Then students can form interest groups to research answers, and teachers can plan learning engagement that are relevant to students. This results in students having a voice in curriculum planning, gives them a choice to pursue their own wondering, offer them opportunity to work collaboratively with peers, and connects their learning to personal interests. Most schools teach schools that there is only one right way to solve a problem, and then grade their children on how closely they follow those steps. But in real-life challenges, however, don't have clearly step-by-step solutions. That's why teachers should focus on helping students develop the curiosity they need, not only to find the answers, but also to enthusiastically discover the question they need to solve. By leveraging children's natural curiosity about the world around them, Inquiry-based learning transforms education from something children have to do to something they enjoyed. Under emotional engagement, in inquiry-based classroom, when students learn what they want, do what they want to do, they apparently can promote positive emotion. It can positive impact on students' attitude on learning, increase their interest, and engage in their group work. There are some examples in the placements. One of these is the one Jessica mentioned before. In my placement, in the reading class, students would choose their own books which are suitable for them. Before reading, they will set the goals for themselves. For example, can summarize the main idea of the chapter I read, can learn something from the chapter I read, and so on. When they have some questions, they can raise their hands and ask the teachers for help. And after reading books for a specific period of time, they can write down something which to reach their own goals. During the whole class, students engage with the process and progressions, and they are ready and willing to learn.
Now let's talk about the evaluation of the its practice. Overall, according to the research we done, inquiry-based learning is a very useful pedagogy because it's learner-focused and improves students' performances. It inspires students to think critically and establishes a gap between the theories they learn in the class setting and their actual practice. Finally, it also inspires students' ability to apply knowledge. But we also find some challenges for teachers to do this practice in the classroom. Now let's talk about the challenges and difficulties of this practice. The first challenge to inquiry-based learning is it is against with the current learning situation. According to our research, inquiry-based learning is disruptive to test-based standards, which means tests reward the right answer, and even brief essays are expected to obey by the parameters of known knowledge and standardized terms. But open-ended problems result in special solutions, derived from a process of exploration in which students practice evidence finding, thoughtful exchange, and creative design. So, therefore, it leads to a second challenge, which means inquiry-based learning, like some creative and critical thinking, is very difficult to be assessed. It is likely to prove impossible to objectively measure the most subterranean aspects of inquiry, such as creativity and critical thinking. Maybe in the future, it will take thoughtful development of new metrics to develop an assessment system that captures the richness of inquiry-based education. Some other challenges and difficulties could be how can teachers use discourse and discussion to encourage more effective inquiry-based learning? And the next challenge could be how can we get teachers to think of content and inquiry as not mutually exclusive, but rather aspects of the same goal. The last challenge is how can we help teachers learn to manage an effective inquiry classroom?
As a future teacher, I encourage inquiry-based learning and learn to provide ways for all students to be actively involved in the classroom and doing something like begin the lesson with guided inquiry, guide students on individual learning paths, teach students how to question, and use technology tools to extend learning opportunities to help students learn. By doing this, hopefully I can help students learn how to learn by themselves and help them engage in learning.
Now I would like to talk about the technology teaching. Technology can be defined as the advancement in the method and the tools we use to solve problems or achieve a goal in the classroom. Technology can encompass all kinds of tools from low-tech pencil, paper, and the use of presentation software like Press, like PowerPoint, like Google Docs or high technology tablet, online collaboration, and conferencing tools. Computers and related electronic resources play a very, very, very important role in the education. We emphasize the word useful because electronic resources and education assist with each other, but they cannot replace the more traditional technology teaching. And it also cannot replace the more traditional teaching techniques. Electronic tools can make classes more efficient, can make lectures more compelling, and content is much rich and varied. Reading assignments are more extensive, more interesting, and easier to read. Discussions are more free and challenging. The students' papers are more original and in-depth. Now I will introduce how technology helps students and teachers connect each other. There are 4 main points. The first main point is the online collaboration tools. Online collaboration tools such as the tools like Google Apps, as I'm using now, is a Google Docs, Google PowerPoint. All students and teachers are allowed to share their document online, edit them in real time, and project them on the screen. This will provide a collaborative platform for students to use their text and images in the platform and record their own work. The second one is tablet and can be linked to the computers. Tablet can be linked to the computers, projectors, and the cloud so that students and instructors can communicate through text, drawings, and diagrams. Like the emplacement I have been to before. There are so many interesting diagrams online, so teacher linked computers to the tablet and show the students the diagrams, their drawings, or the text. Third useful point is the course management tools. The course management tools allow instructors to organize all the resources for students in the class. For example, like assignment, readings, the key main point for the exam, and online quizzes, which provide valuable grading tools and create spaces for discussion, document sharing, and video and audio commentary. The last point is the lecture capture tools, which means the recording lecture tools. Teachers can record lectures directly from their computers without any other additional equipment in the classroom. Teachers can record their own speech and upload it to the students for viewing again. Researchers shows that the release of recorded lecture does not reduce attendance. Students will be happy to have a new opportunity to review their lecture at their own places. This photo shows 5 different parts. The first part is technology impress, assess, technology expand purpose, audience for students' work, technology shift teacher students roles, technology restructure teachers' time, technology enhance communication and feedback. Also, these will increase students' engagement and depends on student learning. This photo also illustrates the role of technology and shows the importance of the context in which technology and learning are combined. In this point, the environment has a strong influence on teachers' perceptions of technology use and how effectively use it for learning purpose. One notable factor is the role of teaching in technological innovation. The teaching model is directly linked to the use of technology. In the remaining 3 locations, teachers can incorporate their own teaching style. My feeling is that many of the effort to promote students' improve come from how we can increase the integrations of our technology in the classroom. I think this is not the main point. I think this will focus on raising our awareness of children and improving our technology. It really depends on how we present the information and how we are creating key thinkers for all students rather than improving the ability to actually acquire technology in the classroom. Through the technology teaching, I get so many different implications of engagement. The first one is a professor of English literature decided to diversify our reading tasks by mixing software that would keep students awake and allow more class discussion. That means some of the students don't like to reading the books, so they cannot pay more attention on the books. I'm not saying that we should use podcasts to replace all students' text reading. I just suggest that teachers who want to increase their exposure to technology in class, we can use podcasts instead of some of their reading materials to reduce monotony. Divide our repeated reading tasks among podcasts. These podcasts will surely make more students awake and make more classroom discussions possible. The second one is educational games for science and technology can make students eager to learn and engage students to be full of knowledge. That means like some educational games is useful for students, but so many students were told that the video games are not good. There are so many bad things. You can't play the games because they will control your mind. When students were young. But these are all the fake things. Nowadays, research shows that video games can improve students' learning. There are so many educational games and educational websites or educational devices which allow students to apply their tests and about what they have learned. Using educational games is the best way to use technology in class to make students become eager to learn and get the knowledge much easier and impressive. The last one is students can gain momentum and complete on mobile devices by challenging each other, allowing students to continue to challenge outside the classroom. That means if you didn't provide students some challenge, some requirement, students cannot finish all the tasks, all the activities fully completed. You need to set a challenge between two students and provide the gifts for the winner, and this will make students much more powerful to finish all the tasks or finish all the requirements. Some research shows that if you set a challenge in a group, the completeness will become higher than before. The fourth one is the students will have an educated and entertained class. According to the study of visual teaching, use verbal explanation, exemplifying and describing things is not always a very simple or effective teaching method. Use classroom technology and add some few YouTube video clips when explaining. This way you can use video streams, movies, comics, videos, like some other raw materials to create a clearer pictures for your students. Finally, you will have an educated and entertained course. The second one is students can gain an exciting and valuable experience to students by video. This means students can study indoors without having to leave out the classroom by using the video conferencing technology in the class. Students can gain exciting educational advantages, such as reaching out to other cultures and making friends around the world. Video conferencing can bring exciting and valuable experiences to the students. These two main points is similar because the first one is use technology to learn, and the second one is use technology to get the important things around our life. There's an example of those two main points. The first one is in my placement. In my placement, I have taught students about angles, but students don't know what angle means. So I provide a video which talks about the angle and let students learn more about angle, how angle measure, and how many types of angles. This knowledge, I can talk about it, but students won't put more attention on this, so I show a interesting video which talks about all this knowledge. That is gain the knowledge from the video. And the second example is like students all ask me about how to learn Chinese and what's China look like. So I asked them to search online about the beautiful views in China, and I introduced some famous views to students. What's that mean, and why China can build this, and what's the history about this view. Also, I show students about how to learn Chinese, like teach them some easy words because they are so interested in those different languages. So I provide another website for them to understand more Chinese and how to learn Chinese and how to spell Chinese. So the last one is it can reach all different types of learners and hold students' attention longer. Let's talk about the multimedia. Multimedia can inspire multiple sensations at once, and by doing so, you can reach out to all different types of learners and extend the students more attention to enable students to create and use different types of multimedia to create a more collaborative classroom and allow students to communicate and actually apply what they are learning to enhance the overall education.
So under technology teaching, there are some merits and demerits about it. Let's talk about the merit first. Technology teaching can promote independent learning in students, prepare students for the future, allow teachers to create an exciting way to educate, and encourage development of teaching method. So for the first one, promotes independent learning in students. How technology teaching promotes independent learning in students? The internet is a treasure trove of information. Practically anything you need to know can be found online. Even without assistance from parents and teachers, students can just look up their lesson online. Unlike regular textbooks, electronic books and web-based content are updated in real time, feeding students with the most current information they can get their hands on, helping them become more knowledgeable even outside the classroom settings. And it can also prepare students for the future. From the way technological advancements are going, it is obvious that the future will be digital and technology-focused. If students are well-versed on using technology to collaborate and communicate as early as now, they will not have trouble fitting in, competing and finding jobs in the future. Being familiar with using at least one form of technology at an early age will help them become comfortable using it, and eventually develop other skills necessary to handle other innovative devices and processes. Technology teaching can allow teachers to create an exciting way to educate. Gone are the days when the only tools for teaching are limited to books, a blackboard or whiteboard, and a chalk or markers. With technology integrated to education, teachers can now incorporate images, videos, and other graphics when delivering lessons. Specific websites, apps, and programs will also enable teachers to vary how they provide instructions. This creates an exciting learning environment and promotes interest in education in general. Other tools available for teachers include smart boards, email, Skype, and PowerPoint. It encourages development of new teaching methods. Rather than spend an hour or so talking while the student listen, or have them read an entire chapter in silence. Teachers and professors now have the option to use advanced teaching methods such as board cards, blogs, and social media. When working with a particular group or one-on-one, teacher can take advantage of web conferencing technologies, other online communication tools. Technology also presents universal tools that enable teachers to educate all types of students, including those who are struggling or have special needs. These include voice recognition, text-to-speech converter, word prediction software, and other assistive technology. On the other hand, technology teaching also have demerits. First of all, startup cost of an e-learning service is expensive, and cost of production of online training materials is very high. Not all the school can afford it. Teacher must be confident that the extra costs are balanced with the benefits of delivering a course online. Significant time needs to be invested in course setup and in ongoing maintenance. And technology teaching may not be suitable for certain types of learners. E-learning requires a high level of self-discipline and personal time management. E-learners need to be highly self-motivated to take full advantage of the medium, as often the online learning experience can be impersonal. Working through packaged program can be irritating. For example, when some kind of students learning with their iPads or computers in the classroom, they may not focus on what they learn and start doing something else, like playing games, watching funny videos, and so on. In addition, it may result in a lack of interest in studying. Because everything is now accessible online or through data saved in a computer or mobile devices, students are likely to develop poor studying habits and a lazy attitude towards education. Some of them may even think they can skip school because they can find answers in lessons online. Who needs teacher when you have internet and Google, right? This can lead to students forgetting the basis of studying. They would rather rely on computer and the internet instead of their books and the input from their teachers. Most of them will misspell words because they often use spell checkers. Rather than solve mathematical equations the traditional way, they would seek assistance from computer or look for the answer directly through search engines. When it is time to take the test in the classroom and without any form of technology, students are likely to fail. Finally, technology teaching may be less effective in some way. With respect to clarifications, explanations, and interpretations, the e-learning method may be less effective than traditional methods of learning. The learning process is much easier face-to-face with instructors or teachers. And when it comes to improvement of learners' communication skills, e-learning may have a negative effect. Though learners might have an excellent academic knowledge, they may not possess the needed skill to deliver their acquired knowledge to others.
All the engagements and implication, I want to talk about the reflection on the future teaching. For example, I would like to become a Chinese or a math teacher in the future. Just for example, I would like to talk about math in the future. But how can I use the technology teaching to teach math? First of all, I will set a topic about what's this class all about, and then search the videos about this topic, which is interesting videos for students to understand all the class about and gain some other knowledge about this topic. During this course, I would like to use my computers which connected to the tablet to show students about the picture of this topic or show about some interesting images to students. And every lesson has a math activities. I would ask students bring pads or mobile phones from their home and ask them to search online about the other knowledge on the topic and use their pads or use their mobile phone to do a website, do an application, do a posters, do a video about this topic. The content of this resource is about what did you get from the video, from the other website or video or some other resources you get about this, get the knowledge about this topic. And finally, send the resource you have done to the teacher's email. I think in the future, I will ask students to do all these things because I think it's much easier and students will pay more attention because they like to use their phones, use their pads to do all those things because they like to use the internet to do all the things, and they will pay more attention on it and they will gain lots of interest inside. Also, in placement, school provides students a website called Hour of Code. Just ask students to search on Google about Hour of Code, and there is a website. This website is all about the games and the questions. Just ask students to click in this website and choose what games students want to play. And inside this game, there are two different sides. One is left side and one is right hand side. Left hand side is all about how the game. It's the game interface, and the right hand side is about the questions ask you how to play the game step by step. You need to play the game finish all the questions. If you want to play the game, you need to play it and write the answer. And if the answer is correct, you can go continue to the step 2, and you answer the questions correctly, and you can just move into the step 3. There's all about 10 steps you need to answer. I think it's a quite interesting website for students to just use technology to play the games and study. This study is just about how to let students organize the sentence and ask them about how the words they can put. It's a quite big challenge for students to finish all the questions.
Last but not least, we are going to talk about the connections between inquiry-based learning and technology learning. First of all, technology can be a tool for inquiry-based learning. Over the past decade, a growing number of interactive games and educational software packages have been implemented in early childhood education and addressed a variety of subjects, including mathematics, science, reading, and social studies. And according to our research, computer technologies offer accessible vehicles for extending the domain and range of this inquiry. For example, there is a program called Inquiry-Based Computer-Supported Collaborative Learning, which is a process-oriented interview framework on cognitive activity, self-regulation, and motivation. And inquiry-based computer-supported collaborative learning is also a coding category for analyzing cognitive learning strategies, and cognitive self-regulation was developed. Students who participate in inquiry-based CSCL used a variety of cognitive learning strategies. The strategies reported by the students were not related to a single cognitive operation such as writing or reading. Instead of, they involved broader types of strategies needed in the cognitive self-regulation of the rather complex or challenging learning task that inquiry-based learning represents. And what's more, inquiry-based computer-supported collaborative learning is designed to enhance collaborative learning. Instructional technologies has been widely used in early childhood inquiry education, and the first way is to enrich and provide structure for problem context. Second one is facilitate resource utilization. And the third one is to support cognitive and metacognitive process. And the major goal of early childhood education is to enhance children's cognitive skills and socializations, and get ready for the future success in schools and as adults. So, with the help of the instructional technologies, early childhood education will become more successful. That's all.
That's all. Thank you.
you.
This is the references we used.